IREN stock had a huge day to kick off the week, closing Monday's session at $37.14, up $3.18, or about 9.3%. That's a massive move for any stock in a single session, and it came on the back of a strong rally into the close. The key question now is whether today's breakout is just a momentum move that will need to consolidate, or if it's actually the beginning of a much larger re-rating of the stock by the market. Let's take a step back and put this in context. Over the past couple of weeks, IREN has been one of the most watched names in both the Bitcoin mining space and the AI infrastructure space. That's because it sits at the crossroads of two very powerful themes. On one side, it's one of the leading Bitcoin miners, with capacity around 50 exahash per second and mining revenue that's up more than 200% year-over-year. On the other side, it's aggressively scaling its AI cloud business, deploying Nvidia GPUs at scale, and securing renewable power to feed those high-demand workloads. Now, earlier in the week we saw IREN pull back slightly, then rebound on Friday, closing at $33.96. That set the stage for today's action. Heading into Monday, investors were watching two key levels: support in the low 30s and resistance around 35. If the stock could clear 35 with volume, it had the potential to break out. And that's exactly what happened. It pushed through resistance, gathered momentum, and closed at 37.14, confirming the breakout. So, what's behind this rally? Was there some brand new catalyst today? Interestingly, there wasn't a single breaking news headline that explains the entire 9% move. Instead, what we're seeing is the market catching up to a combination of factors that have been building over the past few weeks. Let's break those down. First, the fundamentals. IREN's most recent quarterly earnings were a blowout. The company reported record revenue of $187 million, up 228% year-over-year. They swung from a loss of 27 cents per share last year to a profit of 70 cents per share this quarter. That's a stunning turnaround, and it immediately caught the attention of analysts and institutional investors. Mining revenue surged as hash rate climbed, and the cash flow from that mining operation is helping fund the company's push into AI infrastructure. Second, the AI cloud story continues to get stronger. According to the August monthly update, IREN now has around 10,900 Nvidia GPUs live, with another 9,000 Blackwell GPUs on the way. They also secured preferred partner status with Nvidia, which is a big deal. It not only ensures access to scarce GPUs but also positions IREN to connect with Nvidia's enterprise customers. That partnership gives IREN credibility and puts them in the conversation as a serious player in AI compute infrastructure. Third, financing. IREN recently locked in a $200 million non-dilutive financing package to fund GPU expansion. That's crucial, because one of the biggest risks for capital-intensive build-outs like this is shareholder dilution. By securing non-dilutive financing, they showed that they can expand aggressively without issuing a flood of new equity. Investors love that. Fourth, mining results. In August, IREN mined 668 Bitcoin, down slightly from July's 728. Hash rate dipped modestly from around 45 exahash to 44. While that might look like a small negative, the hardware profit from mining was still strong at about $50.8 million. Yes, margins have compressed somewhat due to electricity costs, but the mining engine remains profitable and provides critical cash flow. Fifth, leadership. The promotion of Anthony Lewis to Chief Financial Officer is another underappreciated positive. He had already been serving as Chief Capital Officer, overseeing GPU financing, and he brings more than 2 decades of infrastructure finance experience from Macquarie. His role now as CFO gives investors confidence that IREN has the financial leadership to execute on these ambitious growth plans. Sixth, technical and sentiment factors. IREN's IBD composite rating recently hit 96, which puts it among the top few percent of all stocks on technical strength. Its relative strength rating is 9 to 9, the maximum. The accumulation distribution rating is an A, indicating heavy institutional buying. That tells you that big money is flowing into the stock. On top of that, positioning has been favorable. Short interest has been easing but remains meaningful at about 12% of float, with days to cover around 1.1. That means when the stock trades well, shorts can get squeezed, adding fuel to rallies. The options market has also been call-heavy. Earlier in August, we saw unusually high options activity flagged, with 160,000 calls trading in a single day, about 60% above normal. That skew toward calls amplifies upside when momentum builds. When you put all of that together, the fundamentals, the AI cloud growth, the financing, the leadership upgrade, the strong technicals, and the positioning, it's easy to see why investors piled in today. The move above 35 was the technical trigger, and once that level gave way, momentum traders, options hedging, and short covering likely all kicked in, pushing the stock toward 37. So, is this just momentum, or the start of a bigger re-rating? Let's talk about what re-rating means here. Right now, a lot of investors still think of IREN primarily as a Bitcoin miner. Miners are typically valued on their hash rate, their cost of production, and the price of Bitcoin. They tend to trade on cyclical multiples. But IREN is trying to shift that narrative. By scaling AI cloud infrastructure with Nvidia GPUs and securing renewable power, they are positioning themselves as a renewable-powered AI infrastructure company. That business model commands a much higher multiple. If the market starts valuing IREN as an AI infrastructure play rather than just a miner, that's when you get a re-rating. This is exactly the argument Eric Jackson has been making. He's laid out a sum of the parts valuation, showing that if you value the mining, the AI cloud, and the power assets separately, the stock could justify much higher levels. His more conservative case puts IREN at $100 in the next 18 months, with a longer-term potential up toward $300. Whether or not you buy into every assumption, the point is that the market is beginning to recognize that IREN is more than a miner. Today's move to 37 can be seen as confirmation of that recognition. It wasn't driven by Bitcoin soaring or by a sudden change in hash rate. It was driven by momentum around the AI story, the Nvidia partnership, the financing strength, and institutional accumulation. That's what re-rating looks like. Of course, that doesn't mean the stock goes straight up from here. After a 9% day, it's perfectly normal to see consolidation. Support is now in the 32 to 33 range, with resistance in the high 30s. If the stock can establish a base above 35, that would be constructive for another leg higher. If it slips back into the low 30s, it may consolidate before trying again. What should investors watch next? First, GPU deployment updates. Every time IREN energizes new GPUs, it adds capacity and credibility. Second, AI cloud customer wins. The faster they can turn GPUs into recurring revenue, the faster the market will value them as an infrastructure provider. Third, mining economics. While the AI side is the growth engine, mining remains an important cash flow source, and margins there need to be monitored. Fourth, options and short interest data. If shorts keep trimming and call activity remains strong, that's supportive for momentum. Fifth, analyst coverage. If more analysts raise price targets above current levels, it reinforces the bullish case. So to wrap up, here's the takeaway from today's breakout. IREN closed at $37.14, up more than 9%, on the back of strong momentum and institutional buying. The move was less about a single news headline and more about a confluence of factors: record earnings, AI cloud expansion, Nvidia partnership, non-dilutive financing, leadership strength, and technical confirmation above 35. The market is beginning to re-rate IREN, recognizing that it's evolving from a pure Bitcoin miner into a renewable-powered AI infrastructure leader. The question now is whether today's move is just momentum or the start of something bigger. In reality, it's both. Momentum was the trigger, but the fundamentals underpinning it suggest that the re-rating story is real. There will be volatility ahead. This stock won't move in a straight line, but the long-term thesis remains intact, and today's breakout could be the beginning of a much larger shift in how the market values IREN.